This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
Welcome to INC Radio Oregon, where our brethren from different parts of Oregon, Washington, California, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming greet you. Come get to know all of our brethren from the Ecclesiastical District of Oregon and explore our activities, experiences, and sceneries. This is Oregon. Hello to all our viewers and our listeners. Thank you for joining INC Radio today, and I am Sister Jillian Pimentel. I'm from the local congregation of Portland, and today's topic, we'll be talking about a guide to traveling. But before we continue, let us first greet our Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, our Executive Minister, Brother Angelo Iranio Manalo, our CFO Coordinator and SEBSI CEO and President. Thank you both for your love and guidance for us in our INC radio programs and for everything you do for all of the brethren all around the world. Make sure to please greet us and your family and your friends in our live chat. Please let us know what local congregation or group worship service you're from. And then if you're from another district, please let us know that as well too. Before I continue, I want to send out my greetings to my parents, Kajun and Kalisa from Roseburg Group Worship Service, as well as to our resident minister in Portland, Brother Jake Cruz, as well as his family, and to all of our viewers, and as well as to my nanay, Sister Letitia, and my family in the Philippines. So, for our live chat question today, make sure you listen closely and answer us in the chat. It is, what is your dream destination to travel? And then for our second question, we have two questions today. What are any tips that you have for someone who is going to be traveling soon? So make sure to keep that live chat active and as well to hashtag your local congregation or group worship service so that we can see who the most active live chatter is. Now I have some wonderful panelists with me today. So I'll first go and introduce. Let's go and ask our sister Jen. Actually, I wanted to know, what are some activities that are going to be in your local congregation coming up? And then you can go ahead and introduce yourself and greetings.
Okay. Hi, I am Sister Jennifer Dulay. I am from the local congregation of Beaverton here in Oregon. We have actually something coming up just tomorrow. Almost forgot. It's tomorrow because I'm actually hosting it. We have a pandesal making workshop in our local congregation. If everybody wants to have something to make nowadays, so that's what we're doing, and we're really excited to have it tomorrow.
All right, perfect, Sister Jen. And were there any greetings that you wanted to say before we move on to our next panelist?
Sure. I just want to say hello and a early happy birthday to my mother, Sister Emma Dulay. Happy birthday, Mom. She's probably going to hate that I said that to everyone, but if you can, please greet her if you know her. I also like to say hello to our resident minister in Beaverton, Brother Armand Kagingin and his family, as well as all the brethren and officers in Beaverton, as well as my friends and family who are listening and watching around the world. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And happy early birthday to your mom, Sister Jen. And now for our other panelists, we have Sister Flo. Go ahead and take it away.
All right. Thanks, Sister Jillian. Hello, everyone. Sister Flo here from Vancouver Locale. And I just want to greet everyone out here in INC Radio Oregon. It's a beautiful day today. And I'd like to first greet also our resident minister, Brother Rod Reyes and his family. And then our assistant resident minister, Brother Albert Bacalintal and his family. And I just wanted to have some birthday and anniversary greetings as well. So here in Vancouver, Brother Jeff and Sister Malu Pinwell celebrates their 39 years today, actually. And so happy anniversary to you both, Brother Jeff and Sister Malu. And who else is celebrating their anniversary? Let's see. Let's go over to Beaverton. Um, just a little belated happy anniversary on March 25. Brother June and Sister Irene Mariano. So happy anniversary to the both couples here. And then we have some, oh, wait, I found out there's one more. In Oregon City, happy anniversary to Sister Melissa and Brother Abe Balan. So yay for happy anniversary and long years. And then, of course, birthdays in Vancouver, Sister Joy Katabay. Today is her birthday. Sister Paula McCoy, that's tomorrow, March 31st. And of course, I need to also greet Sister Emma Zulai. Her birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday to you, Paul. And I hope you have a fun time making or watching to make Pandesal tomorrow. And happy celebration this month. We're ending our month really well. So take care of each other. And greetings to all of the brethren here joining us today. I'm looking forward to a great discussion, Sister Jillian. Back to you.
Thank you, Sister Flo. Thank you for all of those greetings and celebrations. And thank you to the both of you for joining me today. As I mentioned earlier, our topic is a guide to traveling. So it is time to see the world and travel to different destinations because the weather is getting warmer. For some of us, a plane ride is in the norm, and then others of us may have not ever left the country. But today, let's talk about our dream travels and tips for everyone planning to travel soon. Now, if you might remember, many years ago, we had a traveling INC radio episode. So we're going to take it back to that topic. And so let's start with our first question, which is what are places and countries that you have traveled to? Why don't we start off with you, Sister Jen?
Oh, that's a good question. I once actually wrote down all the countries that I have traveled to. That was probably about 10 years ago that I did that. So it's grown a little since then. Um, just to name a few, especially recently, I went to Ireland, I've been to Greece, I've been to Italy. One of the most surprising places when I tell people that I've been there is I've been to Russia. I have been to Australia and New Zealand. So I've been to a lot of different places. I think the last count I had was maybe 35. So
Wow. You've been around the world, Sister Jen. I was also thinking about making a travel journal, like all of the places I've been to, like visiting countries around the world. But the only country I could really write down is Philippines. But that's just the start of my travel destinations. So I would love to start traveling to other countries in the future as well. But how about you, Sister Flo? What are some other places and countries that you've traveled to?
Let's see. I've been to the Philippines 3 times. Um, of course, we had little stopovers in between. So I stop over in Guam. So I guess I can count like I've been there a little bit. And in Japan, just for a little bit. And then, of course, I traveled to different states already. We we went, of course, California. Recently, my recent traveled trip was just last weekend. We went to Idaho and we had a road trip there. And so, greetings to the brethren out there in Fruitland, Fruitland, Idaho, Boise, Idaho, and of course, our brethren in Twin Falls. So, greetings to all of you. I had a great time there.
Those are some great trips as well, Sister Flo. For the States, I have been around the West Coast. So I've been to Washington, California. And then I remember whenever we took a trip to our Kadua meet and greet in Shoshone, Wyoming, we drove through
Yeah.
all the states that head towards there. So I was able to see the scenery over there. Now, out of those trips, Kaflo, what has been your favorite trip so far and why?
Um, I found it's amazingly because I didn't think that I would enjoy going to the Philippines. So on my first trip, I was really hesitant to go there, only because they say I might not be comfortable. It's too hot. I might not enjoy. And it turned out to be quite the opposite. So that was back in 2018, and then I went back in 2019 and 2021. Oh wait, I went 4 times. 2020, yes, in 2021, and I recently went there this year, so 4 times. So I really enjoyed going to the Philippines, and I don't mind going back again. And I think I went there for different things, but I enjoyed eating the real kind of Filipino food. That's why.
Agreed. Whenever I went back to the Philippines in April, it was quite humid, but besides that, just being able to like travel
Hmm.
around within the Philippines and also spend time with my family there, amazing trip. But how
Yeah.
about you, Sister Jen? What are your favorite trips so far? I know you've been to many countries, so
To be honest, as I thought about this, uh, my favorite places to visit have been very reminiscent of home. So, surprisingly, Ireland, New Zealand, and Estonia are probably some of my favorite destinations because I remember walking around these places and thinking, I could be at home in Oregon right now and I wouldn't know. I mean, everything was a slightly different, but it was there was that homey feeling, and so it was really nice to be able to visit those because all of those countries have been on my list to see, and I finally got to go there. So that's what I would say.
I'm
Sister Jen, when you say you felt homey in those places, those countries, was it because of weather or the sceneries around there that you saw?
It was partially scenery because those three countries, especially, very green,
Yeah.
and we know how green Oregon is. Um, a little bit of the ease of getting around, and mainly because of the people. Not
Mhm.
saying that any other country doesn't have friendly, people, because they do. Everywhere I've always met friendly people. Whenever you travel, it's nice to have friendly people. But there was something about the people in those countries that made it seem like I was with people that I've known my entire life,
Wow.
which makes it that much better because you feel more comfortable.
Yeah,
And traveling is about finding that comfort, I think.
that's an important point. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Sister Jen.
Yeah, especially with the comfort thing, like being able to find your home in another country that is not your home. That's really a warm feeling, and that's one of the reasons why I also really love traveling is meeting the people there and just making friends around
Hmm.
the world. So I think that's a very wholesome part of traveling. So but then we know that there are different modes of transportation. So like traveling by train, by plane, or by car, or others like boat. But what are your guys' favorite form of traveling and why? So I'll go back to you, Sister Jen.
It's going to depend on where I am, to be honest. I like having the ability to drive just to see the scenery. But if I'm in another country, I would rather go by train because then I don't have to worry about if I'm driving on the correct side of the road or not. Planes obviously get you to the places faster, but sometimes it's about the journey, not the destination. I think we've all heard that before. So um, it just kind of depends, I think. But for me, my dad liked to drive, and so do I. So I think that would probably be my favorite.
I love that. And I also love driving, but there's just something what's the right adjective for this magical about traveling by train and plane and like whenever I travel by plane, a lot of my pictures just end up being pictures that I take outside the plane window just because I really like looking at the sky and the clouds, especially the clouds at sunset whenever you're traveling by plane. They end up really pretty. And then also by train, just a couple years ago, I I was traveling by train and just the scenery. I know that there is a train that goes from the top of Washington all the way to the bottom of California. And just the scenery of watching the West Coast was also beautiful. So how about you,
Yeah.
Mr. Flo.
Um, okay, so our Kuya Tex has chimed in on our conversation. And so traveling by tricycle or jeep in the Philippines. And actually, I tried the trike while I was there in the Philippines on several occasions. And I found that really interesting. And it was, in a way, fun, something different that we don't get to do here. Um, but yeah, in the Philippines. Oh, Kuya Tex, I have not ridden the Jeep just yet. So maybe on the next trip, I'll try the Jeep. But they said it's fun, and I think riding the tricycle is fun too. So for me, I'm not quite the driver type of person, although I love being the passenger. So I catch the sceneries as we go along the way. And this last trip I went to Idaho, I was able to capture some awesome sceneries going down there. And then, of course, plane, like Sister Jen said, it really depends on where you're going or how easily you can get there. So either way, I've never tried the train yet. So maybe on the next time we get gutsy and try the train.
You
Oh,
should definitely try it, Sister Flo. It's a really good experience. When it first started, I was like, this is a little bit slower than I thought. But I mean, it's not a bullet train, so
yeah.
kind of
I'll give you both some train tips
Ooh,
afterwards on
okay.
between the three of
perfect.
us.
Okay. Now, before we move on to our next questions, could I ask you, Sister Flo, to read us some live chats? We have a
Oh,
very
sure.
active chat today.
We have some active ones there in our live chat. So yeah, one of our viewers coming in from, I believe, Livermore, Brother Rod Kahayag, and he says one of my dream destinations is to travel to Europe, the United Kingdom, Germany, Greece, Italy, and so many more historical places there. And yes, I have to agree that Europe has a lot of historical places to go and visit. So that's a good way. Um, this is kind of funny, but I'm going to just read it anyway from Brother Justin Collejo from Everett. He said his favorite destination is Portland, Oregon. There must be something special about coming to Portland. And let's see, we have our sister Sally Samorten. She said, "Happy viewing po mga kapatid. Enjoy watching po mula po dito sa lokal ng Babanuang, District of Isabela West." That's one place I have not gone yet to the Philippines. And saying greetings to Brother Paulo Acuesta, who's listening on our program today. Hashtag Albany, hashtag Eugene GWS, hashtag Roseburg GWS. Wow. Hi, Brother Albertson and family. Sister Sadie. Sister Sadie of Portland said one of her dream destination is Paris, France, especially to be able to go to the one of the happiest place to go in Paris. I'm sorry, I can't say it, but I think a lot of us can understand that. Let's see, let me try and get. We have a listener coming in from Hawaii, Brother Delmar Domino from Wailuku, District of Hawaii Pacific. Hello po. Let's see, we have someone joining us. His name or her name, Juglet, Kajuglet, watching from District of Los Angeles County. Thank you, Paul. Brother Art Christian as well from the Philippines. Let's see. Uh, do we have any more? I'll try and catch some more as we go on in our program. Sister Jillian, back to you, Paul.
All right, thank you, Paul. And to our live chatters, you guys had some really good answers, especially for going to Paris. I also want to go there one day, and especially Greece. I had Santorini, Greece in my bucket list for a very long time, and I think
Mm.
it's a beautiful place, beautiful scenery, like a nice ocean view, and really cool architecture, I think, over there. So that's on my bucket list for sure. But so,
We'll talk about that later too, Sister Jillian. Don't worry.
okay,
I'll
okay.
tell you about that later.
Thank you. So, for our next question, why don't we go on to, since we're talking about going overseas, what is the best time to buy plane tickets? I know that this has been my question because whenever I start traveling, the prices of everything kind of alters the more you wait or the longer you wait. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna ask you, Sister Jen.
Well, I will say my answer would be different years ago. I know before, I think in our last conversation, Sister Flo, when we talked about it before in years prior,
Yes.
um, we actually did have a timetable of when it would be good to buy plane tickets domestically versus internationally. My answer will change now. And that's mainly because, again, we are coming out of something that we all know about and that affected travel in a big way. So, what I would say now is start looking as soon as you start planning your trip. The closer you are to your your departure date, obviously fares are going to be higher. So that's something to think about. So start thinking about planning these trips earlier rather than later. Set yourself a budget and then start looking for flights. If it's within a budget that you are comfortable paying, go ahead and purchase it, because what we have seen lately in the airline industry is that fares don't normally go down, but they certainly do go up. And so you want to make sure that you are comfortable paying what you want to pay for those flights. So that's kind of how that would have changed. Normally I would have a time period, but we've had to update it a little bit.
Oh yeah. Thank you for the tip, Sister Jen. I know whenever I was looking for tickets for the Philippines back then, I was the date of my departure was coming closer and closer. So all I noticed was it. So
Yeah,
Exactly.
a day it makes a difference though. I That's what I noticed. Even not even 24 hours and you look again, um the fares just kind of goes up. So and you're right, Sister Jen, when you find a price that is you're comfortable with and you say, okay, I could take this trip. The one thing I learned, and never do this, is once you book that flight, don't go back and look if it went down or up, because who knows? It could go down. I've seen it happen, but more than likely it goes up. But if it did go down, you're gonna end up might regretting purchasing it earlier. So once you
Mhm.
book it, don't go back and look. Oh, did it go up? Did it go cheap? Just to feel good or whatnot. So don't go back. Just book your flight.
just book it. Yes.
Just book
Just book
it.
it.
And so, as we are nearing the end of our show, I wanted to make sure we got to this last question. And what are some tips to making traveling stress free and easy, especially with the weather getting warmer? We have a lot of tips to share. So, I'll go ahead and ask Sister Jen, what are some tips you have? Like anything about passports or even TSA?
Let's talk about air travel really quick first, because I know that that's kind of the most popular form of transportation right now when we talk about traveling. Definitely want to check your passport and make sure it's valid for at least 6 months after your scheduled return date. Airlines will be very particular about that because they want to make sure that in case something happens and you have to stay overseas a little longer, that you are still able to come home. So that's going to be important. Also, make sure that you have a valid passport book, period, and make sure you know where it is and who it's for. But that's another thing that we've seen is that they'll be misplaced and they'll be misplaced separately. So make sure you keep them all together and that you know where that one place is. If you can, invest maybe in TSA pre-check for domestic flights or global entry for international flights. It does cut down on your waiting time at the airport, especially in those security lines. Um, you can check that out. Just look it up online, TSA PreCheck or Global Entry, and you'll be able to find more information about that. When we're talking about road trips, make sure your car is ready to go, especially if you're not renting a car. If you're using a personal vehicle, make sure it's gassed up. Make sure that, if you haven't brought it to the shop for a while, maybe have that done before you take off on that road trip. Another thing to remember is have a backup for your GPS, because if for some reason you end up in a spot where you don't necessarily have service, having a paper backup, whatever that paper backup is going to be very important, that you are not going to get lost wherever you end up going. So those are a few tips that I have. I've got plenty more, but I think that should help for at least kind of what we're heading into now, which is that good summer travel season.
That's perfect, Sister Jen. Thank you for those tips.
Huh?
Since you said you have a few more, we might make another episode in the future and
Yeah.
not have it be 2 to 3 years out. So make sure you see these upcoming episodes.
Sister Jillian, can I just ask Sister Jen, the real ID? Can you briefly talk about the real ID?
Yes, so Real ID is the government program right now that you can use your picture ID, so your driver's license, to fly domestically. Now, that will be coming into, uh, it's scheduled to actually be effective May of 2025. Now, we all know how quickly time passes. So I believe in Washington, they may already be issuing new. If you've renewed your driver's license in Washington, I believe those are real IDs. Oregon, not so much yet. You do have to make an appointment. So make sure that if you have a star at the top corner, I think it's the right hand corner of your ID, that will most likely be a real ID. If you don't have a real ID after May of 2025, you will need to use your passport book to fly in domestically. And that's kind of hard. We don't always want to pull out our passport to fly domestic flights. So definitely make sure you check that. If your driver's license is ready to be renewed, maybe look into doing that and getting your real ID.
Oh, that's great, Sister Jen. Thanks for that. I just wanted to just share, Sister Jillian, also one stress-free experience that I had. When I went to the Philippines recently, I was fortunate enough to be able to travel with one airline all the way from Portland to Honolulu to Guam and then the Philippines. That cut down a lot of stress for me because it's connecting flights and you still got to get off the plane to go on to the next plane. Fortunately, because it's one airline servicing my trip, I did not have to go across the airport to the next gate. It was fortunately the gates were just couple gates down, and that cut down a lot of stress for me, especially I was traveling by myself. Um, and so I think Sister Jen mentioned that we should make sure to check when we're booking our flights, what airlines it's going on. So that's one of the ones that helped me have a stress-free um, traveling experience this last one on my international trip. Sister Jillian, thank you for that.
All right. Thank you, Sister Jen, and thank you, Sister Flo, for your really good tips. But the end of our show is coming up. And so, just to conclude, I did want to say that while the weather starts to warm up, use this as your opportunity to travel and explore the beautiful places that our Almighty God has made. And also, an important reminder that as members of the Church of Christ, we need to include in our travel itinerary to attend our worship services and also to find a worship service near the destination that we are traveling. And so we hope that you have all learned some helpful tips from our episode today, and hopefully we can share more of these tips in future episodes. But for our final acknowledgments and our thank yous, we'd like to say thank you to our brother Moises Kadusale, our district minister, and his wife, Sister Eileen Kadusale, Brother Noel Caritativo, our assistant district minister, and wife, Sister Nora Caritativo, as well as to Brother Rod Reyes, our district CFO overseer, Brother Paulo Acosta, our district multimedia advisor, all of our ministers and families in the District of Oregon, as well as to Brother Arno Solano, our station manager, Brother Manly Andaya, our executive producer, our technical team, and the main station there in the Philippines, and as well as to our behind the scenes crew, Brother Jess Guillermo. And then for our brethren and viewers, make sure to join us weekly on YouTube channel INCRadio DZEM 954. Thank you for always joining us, and make sure to join us again next week on INC Radio Oregon. Next up, we have INC Radio Los Angeles County, California. Thank you everyone for joining today.